I worked at daily newspapers as a reporter and an editor for more than 30 years, 25 of them at the Reno Gazette-Journal, and I was investigative reporter there for the last dozen years that I was there. And then I retired in 2013 because I took a buyout at the paper. They were slimming down the paper considerably, year by year. And I took the buyout and I thought I was done. That end of local news. I wouldn't have a full-time job again, and was prepared for retirement and would concentrate on books, and that'd be the end of it. Yeah, the News and Review had gone out of print in March of 2020 because the pandemic had shut down its distribution points and advertisers overnight. I had been doing a little bit of freelancing for the News and Review, and they needed someone to step up and get them going online and sustain it online for a few months until the pandemic hit. So so I got back into it and been doing it ever since. I had at the Gazette-Journal, when I was a reporter there, I was there when the newspaper started, 28 years before now. And I picked it up every week. I respected what they did. I thought the community needed that alternative, independent voice. And everyone in the newsroom read at the Gazette-Journal, read the News and Review. And I knew it was important to the community. And I was in a position where I could kind of throw my body into the breach and try to keep it going. Well, we want to expand what we're doing now. We have a food and drink writer now, Jonathan Wright, and but we also want to get more entertainment coverage, more arts and culture coverage into the paper. In terms of news topics, growth and development is the big one here. Rents are spiraling out of reach for all but really wealthy people. The housing market is really hot, and the population is going up, and that's the kind of thing you really need to keep your eye on, particularly the decisions made often in a vacuum by the city council that is going to affect the future of this area. Also want to keep an eye on just investigative stuff. That's my forte. And for the last year and a half, I've had to feed the monster. I've done many different stories as though I were working for a daily newspaper, doing a story every few days, every couple days. And I want to maybe have freelancers do those kind of day-to-day stories, and I can focus on the more in-depth stuff, which is what I was able to do at the Gazette-Journal. Well, as I mentioned, Jonathan Wright joined us several months ago, and he is probably Nevada's premier food writer, and he's done a good job with food and drink coverage. We held a benefit in September, which now allows me, because of the generous donations from that and previous donors, and also the loyalty of some advertisers who have been with us throughout the pandemic, been able to get a freelance budget and get some of those freelancers in. I plan to hire an intern in the spring from the UNR journalism program. And so we are, after more than a year of operating on a shoestring during the pandemic, thanks to the generosity of people in this community, we've been able to stabilize, do more than just a one-man band can do. Mm-hmm. And so that's the position we're in now. We're able to do more things, and the challenge is to make that sustainable, where we can continue to do that online. Use the approach of, I think, all alternative weeklies, which is you don't want to cover a news story and say, me too, everybody's got this, everybody went to the same press conference, we all have the same facts, and gee, we have it too. What I like to do is find stuff and focus on stuff that other media, local media, are not covering, either because they won't or they can't or they don't have the people or whatever, and cover the stories that you won't see in other places, but yet are important. And in the case of things like growth and development, a lot of people writing about that. But I want to, as an alternative weekly, we have the obligation to find new angles and different approaches to covering stories. And also, as I mentioned earlier, more in-depth coverage of those stories. So we don't want to repeat what everybody else has. We want to have stories in the News and Review that, A, people want to read, and two, that are important to the development of this community and to the people who live here. Plans, no. Wishes, yes. The Chico News and Review, our sister publication in Chico, California, has been back into print. They also went to square one during the pandemic. They've been back into print as a monthly alternative paper for more than a year now. And they were able to do that because they formed a partnership with the local public radio station. The Sacramento News and Review did come back around fall last year for a few issues as a monthly, but then everything shut down in California again, and they were back to square one. Here in Reno, I'm a print guy. I think that a monthly print publication coming back as an alternative weekly, that's cutting it too close. It's hard to sustain that publication, but I think it's possible at some point to come back as an alternative monthly in print. That's a goal, but first we have to make the paper, we've made it stable, which I wouldn't have given you odds a year ago that we'd be able to do, but we did. And I'd like to be able to sustain that publication online and eventually get back into print, but that's a ways in the future and really depends on the support we get from the community. First of all, we listen. We don't have a corporation or a hedge fund or, some board in Virginia somewhere telling us what we should print and what we should cover. We are completely autonomous and we'll take on anybody. We don't have to worry about, the corporation saying what we can and can't do. We listen when people give us story tips. When they want to talk to me, I return my phone calls, I return emails and texts. I'm always open to story ideas or issues where people say, hey, you got to dig into this or that. I'm not saying I'll do it every time or have the resources to do it every time, but we do listen and we do act, and we ask for the support of this community. So far, we've gotten it, and we will make ourselves worthy of that, and we will continue to tackle issues without fear or favor, because they are news, they're important to this community, and we want to speak for the folks here, particularly for underserved communities, particularly in terms of asking politicians and others questions that they don't want to hear. And that's basically our MO when it comes to journalism. And I thank the folks who have supported us so far, and tell people who may do so in the future that we won't let you down.